Welcome to the video today. We're going to be watching some true crime videos. That's right. Nothing new here. If you don't already know, a lot of these videos come from the Discord. If you're not a part of the Discord already, you can go in there and send some video.
Also, if Resident Evil and Grounded had a baby, it'd be Resident Weevil. Just thought you should know.
I'm busy. We have a React Suggestions tab in the Discord. You can suggest videos from. A lot of these come from there. So join the Discord if you haven't already. If you're watching this on YouTube, that means you missed the Twitch stream, but I stream almost every single day. I stream almost every single day except Sundays. So hopefully you can catch some. Not necessarily true crime, but sometimes true crime. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe because I like to see those numbers go up. That's very cool. It makes me feel validated in what I do. Intro time. Let's watch a dreading video about a very recent and talked about case about the, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this stuff. I don't even know how to, is this guy's name just David? I'm pretty sure it's just David, right? Was arrested, found with CSAM, and is already headed to trial. Celeste Rivas Hernandez update, right? So if you guys don't, I'm assuming Dreading might do a little bit of a recap here, but if you don't know, David is an artist. They found a rotting corpse in his car, months old, if I remember correctly, just like abandoned while he was on tour. And he's been arrested recently. So I'm sure Dreading will do a great sort of synopsis. Dreading does a beautiful job on all of his content. So I think he'll give a good summary of this, but just in case he doesn't, I'm just giving you a little bit of a spark note, and this is a very bad case, by the way. Like there's CSAM. I don't know if you know what that means. I don't think I can really clarify. Don't look it up. It's bad things with children. That a dead minor. There's a whole sort of complex problem with the victim already. I'm sure he will get into it. There's a lot of really fucked up shit about this. So be safe.
Welcome back to another episode of Dreading, or if this is your first time here, welcome. Today we're going to be updating our coverage of the Celeste Rivas Hernandez case, discussing all the relevant developments and what the public will be finding out in the next few years. This case has been harrowing to witness, as a 14-year-old girl lost her life. All the while, her murderer and his accomplices continue to profit off of her death. On September 8th, 2025, the body of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, a missing girl from Lake Elsinore, California, was found dismembered and decomposing in the front trunk of singer David, real name David Anthony Burks, Tesla. David had left for a tour a month earlier, and the car had been left on the street outside of the home his management had rented for him, meaning that either Burke had left Celeste's body in the car prior to leaving for tour, or that someone else had killed her with access to his car. The area in which the car was located had incredibly strict parking laws, so every few days, someone working for Burke would move the vehicle to keep it from being towed and impounded. It's unlikely that this person, whoever they are, was unaware of the body in the front of the car, given the rate of decomposition and the smell that would have emanated from inside the vehicle at the very least. That person stopped adjusting the car for whatever reason, and it was brought to a tow yard. Celeste's body would continue to decompose, and the workers at the tow yard would become concerned over the odor.
What happened?
Employees at the tow yard became concerned when the smell continued to grow, and eventually called the police. When they opened the Tesla's front trunk, officers found 2 black bags containing a severed head, torso, and limbs.
Yeah, this is the murderer on screen.
To identify the body as
supposed murderer. He's not
due to the tattoos that she had
been found guilty
due to
yet,
the manner
but
in which she was found, they cannot verify
it's
her age.
Pointing in his direction
Celeste
pretty
was a
heavily.
troubled young girl who struggled deeply with her mental health. She would go online to escape her internal struggles, seeking friendship and community with those who had the same interests as her, and somehow that led her to coming into contact with Burke. According to multiple interviews that he's done, David Anthony Burke was deeply into niche online subcultures, spending hours on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and more.
This man's like a buff over 20,
and somehow
just so we
came into
know.
Contact with an 11-year-old Celeste. And so he immediately dedicated a significant amount of time to grooming the child. In a TikTok that David would post in 2024, he would also reference the fact that he had met Celeste in 2021 when she was 11. Notably, Celeste loved Hello Kitty and often wore a branded sweatshirt of the character.
Guys, please stop skirting around the censorship and the blacklisting of the entirety, like, of the thing. Even if you're trying to educate, like, skirting around the muted words and words stopped for a good reason is, like, literally, like, you will be banned. Like, that's the whole point of those words being blacklisted. Like, don't fucking do that. Also, like, referring to it with as CP is not good, because the P part implies there's some level of, like, consent or, like, something to it that, like, is approved, and it's clearly fucking not. That's why it's abuse material, because, like, these are children being victimized against their will. There's not a level of consent. They literally fucking can't do that. They're children. Quit trying to skirt around the censorship. Stop. It is CSAM. Do not refer to it as anything else. Do not try to be cute with this censorship. Don't skirt around this topic. It is CSAM. It's fucked up. It's nothing different. There's no other word for it. That is, don't refer to it as different.
Don't know for certain how or when Burke literally came into contact with Hernandez. However, what we do know is that on September 7th, 2022, David would release his most popular song, Romantic Homicide. That date is important, as it was Celeste's 12th birthday. In the music video, he casted a young woman who looked exactly like Celeste. This is the sort of attention and adoration that a vulnerable child would be susceptible to. Children and teenagers dealing with feelings of depression the way that Celeste obviously was, would feel like they are overlooked and uncared for in their daily life. Their parents don't understand them, their friends don't actually like them, and so on. So to have this cool, famous musician dedicating
really bad,
a whole
guys.
song to you feels
It's gonna get
special and
worse,
important.
trust me.
More significantly, predators often attempt to make their predation seem romantic. They'll frame their
It's
love
really
as
bad.
so all-encompassing that they're willing to risk everything to be with their victim. That they're not just pedophiles, but romantics, who aren't attracted to any other child but the one they're predating on. So for a child who has very little romantic experience, this can feel like a dream come true. Someone seeing you and caring for you the way you always dreamt of, especially if the majority of the predation occurs online, where the predator can depict themselves in a more favorable light. They can perfectly mold themselves into whatever the child needs at the time, mirroring their sentiments in a way that is nearly impossible to do in person. It's only as they age and gain real-world experience that the victim will realize what has happened to them. So the following year, David would then post another song on Celeste's birthday, this one titled Birthday Suicide. 3 months later, David would then post the first image of him and Hernandez together in this public fan Discord, bringing his online predation into real life. From then on, his grooming and their inappropriate relationship escalated, with him releasing Celeste, a song he wrote for her 10 days later. The song starts with David calling the 13-year-old baby and stating that he loves her. He then depicts a truly toxic relationship in which he enjoys when she cries while holding him, stating that she gets him high without needing any drugs, but also that she only opens up to him when she is high. He then states that she, the 13-year-old girl, has gotten his name tattooed on her chest, and that he's, quote, afraid you'll only love me when undressed, unquote. Which means that if this song is as autobiographical as it appears to be, that he has somehow enabled this child to get a tattoo, then branded her with his name, then provided her access to drugs, and apparently has sexually exploited her at least once. The song also did well on TikTok and streaming platforms, and because no one outside of his fan Discord knew that Celeste was even a real person, and a child, no one batted an eye. A month later, he would do a live with the minor on Twitch.
Media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Pray for his career, chat. Are we done? Are we?
We need to delete this.
Are we? Maz, can we delete all VODs? And then as soon as the stream ends, delete the stream too? Can we delete everything? You done for, bro?
Just 13
Y'all
here.
are not done? Now you gonna Epstein? Yo, wait.
In the stream, the pair were playing games, and Celeste made a joke about David preying on children. In response, he comically told mods to wipe everything after they got off stream, which they attempted to do. David's reaction, along with the clear fact that Celeste was joking, would lead to the majority of his fans to not take the statement seriously. These two were just a couple of quippy friends, and there was nothing to be too alarmed about. It's only in hindsight that they realized that their jokes were rooted in reality, and he was actively preying upon a minor in front of them. In response to this clip, some individuals have vocalized that Celeste.
Good on her for saying that on stream. She wasn't saying that as like a call out, guys. She made that as a joke, because once again, this literal child has been so predated and poisoned and manipulated by this dude that she's like making light of exactly what's happening to her. That's what's so scary about, like, she is literally a 13-year-old making this joke because it's like basically what happened to her, and she's like, it's like a crazy thing. Not really a joke, but also like she's been extremely vulnerable and manipulated in this point. And so her state of mind and thought process is not there logically. Like, she's been clearly totally like, I think they said they came in contact at 11. She's 2 years into this like manipulation. She's like well beyond, unfortunately, rational thought here. Because once again, she's 13 with a 20-plus-year-old. Like, how many of y'all, when you were like 13, like dreamt of some singer like whisking you away? I know a lot of people dream of this shit. They go to concerts thinking like Justin Bieber's gonna point them out of the crowd and take them home. Like, this is like a dream come true for some people, a lot of teenagers, little kids. Like, this is the reality of it. That's the reality of it. You get manipulated, drugged, predated, assaulted. Like, it's awful. It's awful. She's not making that. She's not saying that as like a call out or a cry. She's making that as a joke, thinking that like what happened to her is okay and normal, or like a good thing, because she is like trapped. She's well in this trap of like manipulation and abuse. And she's, yeah, absolutely. She's trying to just rationalize what's happening to her because she's 13. No idea what's going on. Can't even realize, doesn't even understand. I doubt she even understands the gravity, which is awful. It's awful. It's an awful thing that happened to her. Like, she has no idea what's happening. And her brain is like trying to figure out anything to rationalize it. And not to take away from the fact that this is a victim, but just to clarify, like, that she's not in a rational, that's not a help thing. I don't know. I mean, this is just another like list of like missteps by everybody surrounding her and this guy, and I
was a willing participant in the relationship. That while most relationships between adults and minors are wrong, and they certainly wouldn't engage in that, it was clear that Celeste and David wanted to be together, which is a ludicrous reading of the situation. Celeste was 11 years old when she began talking to David, and was deeply troubled.
11.
David purposely exploited her, using her mental health and well-being to push her into sexual situations that she could not consent to. David made himself appear as a savior, someone who wanted to take care of her and provide for her in a way that she felt her parents could not. And all she had to do to keep him around as a safety net was to engage romantically and sexually with him. It's not just that she was unable to give consent, given her age, but she was also desperate to appease him, given the fact that he held all of the power in the relationship. A month later, on Valentine's Day, Celeste would run away from home for the first time. Notably, her parents, friends, and the police were quick to note that they didn't believe Celeste was in any danger or had harmed herself, and some reports would state that she was still in contact with them. She refused to tell them where she had gone, but stated that she was safe. As Celeste didn't appear to be in any danger, the police wouldn't expend a lot of energy or time looking for the young girl. They would have kept an eye out, but classified Celeste as a troubled teen who was probably hanging out with her friends and acting out for attention. Meanwhile, she was actively being sexually exploited by a recording artist who was pressuring her.
At this moment, the family did not know where she was. If I know this case correctly, which I might not, because it's continuously moving around, they do eventually know where she is and continue to allow this to happen. Really bad. Really bad. So, an ad's about to play. My daughter is apparently insisting I come get the pizza she made for me. So we're going to just take a quick break just to sort of break up this really tragic bullshit. And we'll be back in a couple minutes. Just take a stretching, because once again, this is not good. It gets bad. It's already bad. All right. I'm going to quietly eat while we continue to learn about all the people that failed this young woman.
To get tattoos and do drugs. She would come back home about a month later, only to run away again in
Young
April
girl.
of 2024. Celeste being a repeat runaway would mean that her case would be given even less attention than before.
Yep.
If her missing persons flyer was publicized, the public would feel less inclined to pay attention to it, given her past of running away then coming back. And notably, it was only after Celeste was murdered that local establishments produced security camera footage of her running away from home, evidence that they had since she went missing. But from this point on,
Yep.
Celeste would never return back home. She was still supposedly in contact with some family and friends via text, and apparently was alive and hanging out with David again. Celeste would be seen on tour with him and in some of his TikToks. However, her online accounts would seemingly go dark. On February 2nd, 2025, David would post a video of him cleaning shoes outside of the mansion he was staying in with the 14-year-old. The shoes don't appear to be dirty or stained, but later reports would claim that these were in fact Celeste's sneakers. Her death seemed to do little to David, as he would go on to release his album Withered and began hanging out with another Celeste, that being 23-year-old Celeste Herrera. Herrera was similar to Hernandez, and in
I did
multiple
not know this
photos
part.
and live streams done around this time, she was seen wearing clothes similar to Hernandez, particularly the Hello Kitty sweater that Hernandez had gone missing in, which isn't entirely unheard of.
No
David was
fucking
deeply
way.
obsessed with Celeste Hernandez. He would release music on her birthday, post photos, and do live streams with her, and purposely put his predatory behavior in front of the public, as if begging to be caught. This is the kind of risk-seeking behavior that is indicative of a person who believes that they can simply get away with just about anything, and therefore enjoys breaking the law because they know they'll probably get away with it. In his mind, he might have believed that he'd gotten away with murder, that he had spent 3 years sexually grooming and exploiting and predating on a vulnerable child in front of the whole world, and he was so devious that no one batted an eye. So the thrill of getting away with his crimes was intoxicating.
He was unfortunately
so much so
correct,
that he sought out
or
a
to a
girl who
point.
had the same name as his victim, looked enough like her that it would confuse people, and someone who would allow him to dress them in his victim's clothing. His actions, even with Herrera, were deeply depraved, and based in his need to feel like he's some tormented creative genius. Despite his new relationship, David would continue his tradition of releasing something on his victim's birthday, this time announcing the release date of the deluxe edition of his album, only for her body to be found the following day. On April 16th, 2026, David Anthony Burke was arrested for the murder of Celeste Rivas. 7 months after her body was found, dismembered and decomposing in his car, he was finally arrested. Which prompts the question, what took so long? In the time that elapsed between when Celeste's body was found in his Tesla to when he was arrested, we witnessed plenty of independent reporters stating that, quote, the case was going cold, or that the police stopped investigating, which is far from the truth. Those individuals were either willfully clickbaiting a 14-year-old's death or extremely unaware of how investigations like this should operate.
This is
Solid
important.
and well put together police investigations do take a lot of time.
It's a great point because a lot of people are like, why wasn't he just arrested immediately? The problem is they need concrete evidence to throw at this guy. If they arrest him, try to charge him and don't have something that sticks, like you can't charge somebody for the same thing twice, man. Not the same crime. Like there's the whole double jeopardy situation, etc. Like there's all sorts of like this is a very sensitive case. This is a celebrity case too, which makes it even worse. Like they have to be very certain that he's culpable. Otherwise, like if he walks, that's worse. If he walks and did it, disaster. Also awful if he didn't do it and they arrest him and all sorts of shit happens, like he gets smeared for no reason. I don't think that's the case here. He probably fucking did this shit because he's disgusting. But you know, there's all sorts of like complexities that it's like you really don't want to fuck this shit up because this is about a girl being groomed, abused, and murdered. So the police took their time on this, and I think it was a really good thing that they did because he can't go anywhere. And they have plenty of excuse to search into him, plenty.
They should be handled extremely precisely to ensure that there are no easily exploited holes or mistakes in the case when it is brought to trial. This should be true for all criminal cases, but given just how much attention this crime has gained, the police have been even more deliberate with their actions. Burke is a famous and presumably wealthy singer. If this case does go to trial, he will be able to afford a lawyer who will go over every part of the investigation with a fine-tooth comb, finding legal loopholes and exploits that will allow his client to go free. A piece of evidence breaking the chain of custody, someone not being properly Mirandized before speaking with police, or an inappropriate relationship between a cop and a suspect are
You'll
small
find
but
anything.
significant reasons
They
that
will find
could result
anything
in the
that
child predator
will throw
and
out
murderer
any
being
evidence.
let out without consequence. Knowing that, the police and prosecution waited to arrest David until they had clear, undisputed evidence of his crimes. While we, the public, can look at his music videos and his propensity to cast women who looked exactly like Celeste and murder them in said videos, and say that he probably killed her, that would not hold up in court. All the evidence that existed online against him could easily be hand-waved away by a good lawyer. They were friends. He was acting like an older brother to her. He just happened to have a female friend who looked similar enough to Celeste
there's
that
a lot
people were
of
just getting them mixed up.
There's a lot of
every
semantics
single tweet that had supposed new
that can
evidence
shed
had to
doubt.
have been looked over, validated, and then investigated. Neither my brother nor I could claim to be law enforcement, but after we reported on this case, we got a number of emails from someone who was clearly affected by what happened here, to the point where they were sending us what they believed was evidence that they had also sent to the police. Everything they sent was fake, but seemed real enough to them and others. And given how inconsequential our channel is in the grand scheme of things, it would be fair to assume that police received hundreds of thousands of fake tips that they needed to look into. The
Also a major issue. Also a major issue. When something like this, a high profile sort of case happens like this, you bet people will try to use it for attention or try to be a part of it for attention. Like they probably had to go through quadruple the amount of fake evidence that they did real evidence. And the only reason they found the real evidence is because they had to go through the fake stuff. And that's terrible. I can't imagine being the type of person to impede on a child victim case, but there's all sorts of weird ass people out there.
Investigation was trying to piece together what happened to Celeste as best they could, given the state of her body and the months that had passed since her death.
Not to mention some people actually like submit fake evidence innocuously, like they think they're actually helping when they're not. Just to clarify, not everybody who throws in fake evidence actually thinks it's fake. Some people are very genuine and are just trying to help. That's unfortunately also something that happens, but there is also people that just do that shit on purpose.
The crime scene had likely been cleaned up. Her body had decomposed in the LA sun to the point where her head was described as near skeletal, and she had been dismembered. The investigation had an uphill battle to try and determine the exact cause of death where her murder took place. That's not even factoring in the fact that Burke is a famous singer and recording artist who was surrounded by people who profited directly off of his fame and success. He had business managers, assistants, PR people, and more around him on a near constant basis, and every single individual had motive to either ignore the crimes he was committing in
Or
their
facilitate
presence
it.
or to help him clean up after the fact. According to some reports, the police struggled to find anyone close to the case who was willing to help the investigation. Many people working with David or even friendly
Doesn't
with
shock
him
me.
would decline to speak to them, which obviously made their job harder. But more importantly, because Burke is famous, the case needed to be handled as precisely as possible. The autopsy was conducted on Celeste's body, but it took a significant amount of time to properly piece together what exactly happened. At first, the most they were able to tell the public was that Celeste's death was ruled as a homicide, but they said nothing about how that came to be. It was only after David had been arrested that the LAPD gave the public a bit more information. According to the medical examiner, Celeste was stabbed twice, once in the upper abdomen and the other in the left side of the chest. The 14-year-old had put up a fight against David, with multiple defensive wounds found on her hands. Due to the rate of decomposition, it was unclear if Celeste had been drugged prior to the murder, as some reports showed that she had meth and MDMA in her system, while others denied the presence of drugs. There was also evidence that she might have been drunk, but again, that could have been from the decomposition. According to a press conference the prosecution did on April 20th, 2026, Burke killed Hernandez on April 23, 2025, months earlier than people had theorized. They went further to say that after murdering the 14-year-old, the singer waited to mutilate her body until May 5th, when he took an unplanned trip to a remote area of Santa Barbara. He then wrapped her body in plastic and left it in the front of his car for 4 months. Burke was also charged with lewd and lascivious acts with a child under 14, with Police Chief Jim McDonnell stating that there is significant evidence that David had sexually exploited her, and when she threatened to expose their relationship, he killed her to preserve his career. In total, David has 3 charges against him: first-degree murder with special circumstances, lewd and lascivious acts with
Really
a child
bad.
under 14, and mutilating a body. He has pled not guilty to the charges against him, and his lawyers have denied that he was the cause of her death, and have taken the odd legal strategy of asking the judge for a preliminary hearing within 10 days. That demand came in on April 20th, 2026.
I did not know
Now,
that.
this is an often unused legal strategy, as it puts the
It's to
prosecution
rush the
on
prosecution,
the defense
yeah.
and forces them to have their case ready to go immediately.
Mhm.
There has been some chatter online, particularly by some legal podcasts, that the police went rogue and decided to arrest David because they were sick of waiting for the prosecution to act.
Nope.
We've seen no evidence of this.
Not the case.
But the
Doesn't
idea is
happen.
that the prosecution was waiting to move on the case until they felt they had a smoking gun, while the cops believed that
The cops and the prosecution work very closely together. They're a very friendly sort of dynamic. They seldom stab each other in the back like that.
they had more than enough to act on. If the cops acted on their own, then the actual case against David and what the prosecution can prove
Would get
could be
fucked.
flimsy.
Yep.
Even so, they would usually still have a considerable amount of time to build the case before it goes to trial. People who didn't want to come forward because they relied on David for money could turn on him, and more evidence could be procured, and they would have time to make an even more robust case.
Yep.
But this action
Yeah, they're basically trying to rush the prosecution so the prosecution doesn't have any time to flip any of the people near David or involved at all, or try to find anybody who would be willing to. They're trying to rush this out preliminarily, which is where they establish evidence, by the way. I don't know how much is like known of preliminary trials. It's basically where both lawyers, prosecution and defense, approach the bench, the judge, and are like, this is the stuff I have, this is the stuff they have. What do we allow, what do we not? They get to argue like what is actually admissible, what isn't. So when an actual trial happens, lawyers don't just pull out. This is a very like fake thing, by the way, when like lawyers pull out evidence out of nowhere in the middle of a court case in like a show. They don't really do that. They can't do that. That would immediately make it inadmissible. That's why the preliminary trial happens, so they can present evidence. Can you give an example of evidence that isn't allowed? It's not really like, there's not really like a list, man. It's nuanced to each case. It can be like all sorts of things. Like he was talking about with like, the difficulty of him being famous and wealthy, he can grab a lawyer that will pick apart anything to throw out any bit that'll help him. Like, it can be as little as like one officer forgot to sign on the chain of evidence inside of the evidence locker that he took a piece of evidence for the case. Therefore, fruit of the poison tree, which is like the term, whatever, like that, the chain of evidence for that specific piece of evidence isn't consistent. It could have been tampered with. The whole piece of evidence gets thrown out. That goes away. It's gone. So it's dependent on the case. There's all sorts of things that a lawyer can do. That's the scary part. Yeah, like it's the preliminary stuff is basically to help decide what is even pertinent, because there's probably a mound of evidence against him based on the little bit we're told. The amount that we know, this is what's crazy. We're being told all of this. This is not even evidence. None of this is evidence. None of this is admissible by any means. So what the actual prosecution has is much worse, I imagine. Because all we have is like random streams, timelines, vague, not even vague, music videos, except like we have very little. They have a lot more shit.
Would destroy any of that. At a status hearing for his upcoming preliminary hearing, the prosecutors made a significant detail public for the first time, and that was the fact that he was found with a significant amount of child sexual abuse material on his phone during his arrest. And given the charges against him, it is likely that some of the material involves Celeste. At time of recording, the next preliminary hearing is scheduled for May 1st, 2026, and the prosecution has stated that they are ready and willing to go to trial within the next 2 months. And I hope that is
4
true.
days ago. I wonder how that went,
Celeste Rivas
actually.
Hernandez had her life stolen out from under her. She was 11 years old when she began talking to David, and he groomed her into a sexual relationship. She was vulnerable, isolated, and he purposely did everything in his power to remove her from her family and make her feel as if he alone understood her. And she deserves justice above all else. I hope sincerely that the prosecution is ready to take the case to trial, and that the police did not act on their own accord and jeopardize the case.
I
She
doubt
deserves
it.
better than that,
I doubt
as do
it.
all victims. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you believe that David is guilty? Why or why not? Do you think the case will go to trial? Or do you think he'll eventually change his plea? With that said, if there's a video you would like to see on the channel, you can let me know by emailing me at dreading.official@gmail.com. Have a great day, and remember, stay safe.
I would be shocked if he... I would be shocked if he changed his plea or took one. I would be shocked. Like, that's not something in his position, someone in his position would do. If he's got all the money in the world and all the fame to push around, like, they're going to do as much as they can to try to get the case mistrialed or evidence thrown out or things picked apart. Like, they're going to do a bunch. They're going to do the most to try to get away with shit. It's gross. It's gross, man. It's bad stuff. Like I said, it's bad. This doesn't, and this is, once again, like, this isn't even like most of it. He did a good job of getting like the overall gist of what happened to this poor girl. That doesn't even cover like his family or her family eventually being aware of the dynamic and where she was and allowing it. To my knowledge, this doesn't even go over the fact that like the CSAM on his phone that they have is like 40 terabytes. Terabytes, by the way. It's a disgusting amount. It's 40 terabytes of evidence. I can imagine most of it is that, guys. I don't know why we're distinct. I get that you want it to be correct, but also like, what is the point you're making? I get it. It's probably not 40 terabytes of CSAM. I can guarantee you a lot of that is that. Because God knows a text message ain't taking up a terabyte, guys. Come on. This is a semantic that, like, I get why you're bringing it up in case. Okay. Let's maybe not. We're splitting hairs over something that's like a, you know, I misspoke. That's fair. But also like 40 terabytes of like hit. Why this fucker's evil. How about that? Is that okay? You know, to me, I don't care what amount of it is it or not, guys. The fact that any of it happens, the fact that any of it is present is bad. Like any is enough. Any is too much. Come on. We don't need to be pulling apart this sort of thing. Come on. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's enough. I've had enough of this today. That's, you know, this is bad. I've got more videos up in the queue, but I've seen enough today. I don't want to see more.